Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 624, recorded the weekend of January 10th. I'm your host, Patrick. This week's screenshot, Thoromir takes one last look at the Winter Games in our 492nd screenshot of the week. A nice little evening shot of the snow. Very appropriate for this time of year. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording, and the next show will probably be next weekend. You can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our calendar, also on our website, DDOcast.com. Small production-y kind of note going into this week. Kind of on the other side of the holidays, and my schedule, I think, has stopped changing drastically in a short amount of time. So we should be getting back to kind of more live news, a little bit more regular, and that kind of stuff. So hoping the last couple of weeks have been a little off in that, with the holidays, and like I said, there were some things in my schedule that changed amazingly. With as free as my schedule is, they have managed to land squarely in where I would normally be doing DDOcast live. So that's just kind of how things go. But here's to 2021 being less crazy and nuts than 2020. On the podcast this week, I've got a little bit of news to cover, which I'll be doing by myself. And then we'll get back into our discussion of 2020 in review. Although that discussion went on quite long, much longer than I anticipated, because I'm not very good at figuring out how long that's going to be and planning for that. But we did have Axel and Samius stuck around, and we kept talking about 2020 some more. So that we'll have that on the back half of the show. For now, let's talk about game news. There was some posting about game performance. SSG has been looking at game performance. They have identified a few issues that they intend to correct in the near future that will at least remove the lag caused by those issues. In particular, some of you may be familiar with so-called stacking enhancement bugs that bog things down. You aren't getting more than the intended benefit of a thing, but the same thing is being put on the character many, many times. We found a few of these in recent days and are working on a fix. They are aware of our reports and will continue to look into things they can do to improve game experience. I kind of wonder if some of those stacking enhancement bugs are Bard related, because my anecdotal evidence says that my Bard tends to have a less good game experience than my other characters. So yeah, we'll see. Winter Festival. So previously they had said that the Winter Festival, this is the last. This time that it just ended in December is the last time that they were going to bring it back as a thing. They said they might bring it back later as a special event, not as a reoccurring event. As in terms of recurring event, they're replacing it with something else, which is fine by me because it's easily my least favorite event that they put out. Cordovan wrote that they've been discussing Risia and Midwinter recently, and while these events will not be returning on a regular basis, we may bring them back as a special event in the future, with no set cadence to announce. So, you may want to hang on to those Risia ice skates, even if they are not useful in the new upcoming winter event. Also, addressing the old ingredients, they have been discussing that as well, and the current thinking is that they could, in theory, make a new list of the old stuff minus the ingredients and use a more simple barter system. However, no actual work has been done yet, so we'll see what happens. They, too, do not want all of these old Risia and Midwinter recipe ingredients to need to stick around, which is why they said what they did in December. So, it sounds like the best thing to do right now is hang on to the ice skates, which is only one inventory slot, and not too bad. And it sounds like maybe hang on to the recipe and ingredients and stuff from that festival for now. I expect when they decide to, or like when they do work, that phases them out of those events, because it sounds like they do want to do that. They'll probably turn them into a deprecated state, kind of like the candies do for Night Revels. So until that happens, I think I would hang on to that stuff if you can. Bonus days for the week. It was a double Mysterious Remnants boost, so twice the Remnants appearing when defeating champions through today as of this recording, which means by the time you're listening to this, it's probably already gone. But that way you know what it was, and can anticipate it not being back for a couple weeks. Sales for the week are Finders Keepers, which is 20% off of Astral Shards, Sentient Toolkits, and Jeweler's Toolkits, and Loot Boost through January 14th. The coupon code is Lasting Potion of Resist Acid plus 20. You can get 5 of those with the coupon code Acid Resist 20x5. Times 5 if you prefer, but that's all through January 14th. Community news. The 408th Chronicle, the spotlight for the week. FAQ tracks the trade-in, so you can see how your festival compares on the DDO forums. If you're listening to this soon after it comes out, go turn in your coins. The gesture leaves, I believe, January 13th, so you don't have a lot of time left on that. The comment: what does the drinking water in Stormreach taste like? Probably nothing good. I guess maybe it's the drinking water. That I would assume that they have some magical ability to filter out bad things. I mean, for all Eberron is a pretty magical world. There's probably it's probably not unreasonable to think that there are people that do some sort of ritual version of create food and drink and just create clean drinking water. So probably it tastes like the cleanest but also most bland water you've ever had. Fansite news. We got a shout out for our last episode, looking just previous iterations of the discussion of 2020. DDO Players News said good riddance to 2020. That was their show that kind of looked back at 2020 as well. DDO Stream is your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. This week, Brighter Days Ahead kicks off the new year. Bard Life has a healthy Warforge, and D&D Night brings tabletop D&D to DDO Stream with Rime of the Frost Maiden. Also on Twitch, Strimtom gets shocking, Voodoo Spice has coffee and a chat, and Brackart does epic questing on Kenneth. And on YouTube, Axel looks at the most popular quests, Mickey does tank testing, and Roving Guns shares a build for pugging raids. We didn't get a chance to watch Axel's video on the most popular quest, but if it doesn't have the pit on it, it's probably not accurate. The pit being notorious for being on people's most liked and most hated lists, depending on the person. So, a fact that Torque has told me more than one occasion he's particularly proud of. D&D Night on DDO Stream. Don't forget to check that out at 7 p.m. Eastern, as well as you can find them on YouTube. There's a playlist that is linked on, should be on the DDOcast YouTube page as one of the playlists that you can grab just from our homepage on YouTube there as well. I've also been posting the D&D Night that I am currently DMing Oracle of War on DDOcast.com, so if you're interested in some of that. But there's also other groups, Rime of the Frost Maiden, which was just mentioned, that I'm a player in, as well as Jerry will be starting a new something or other this weekend, I believe, and some other ongoing campaigns. So if you like, check that out on twitch.tv/DDO Stream, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Or again, you can find it on YouTube as well for previous shows. DDOcast news, DDO Splat, we're targeting coming back January 20th, so not this week, but the next week for Season 7, if I remember rightly. So we'll be back playing DDO Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/DDOcast, so you can join us there. lightning post. Dusk of Dead wrote in said one of the difficult spots in the game is that while virtually everyone agrees that alting puts you behind and that new or catching up players have too big of a grind wall to overcome to catch up to the most invested players in the game. That's who is most represented in forum discussions, players' councils, and YouTube community for DDO. Who are at the same time frequently pushing that there needs to be more raids, more chase, more gear up creep, more pass lives, more Reaper tree enhancements, etc. It's not just a question of how do you get from the Milky Way to Andromeda, it's also the fact that the players in Andromeda are constantly proposing to move it further out from the Milky Way. And that right there is kind of the fundamental crux of a MMO that's been around for going on 16, 17 years, 15 years, something like that. That's everyone seems to be wanting to hear how the devs are going to address both issues at the same time. And Dusk says doesn't think that's possible. I don't know how it's possible myself. That's you really kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Like that's the crux of the problem is how do you make it so new players can quote catch up to players that if they don't keep getting new things, they'll be done. And when players are done, they tend to leave the game, either temporarily or permanently. So that's kind of that's the problem right there for MMOs. If anyone has a great solution, please let SSG know in the suggestions on the forums so they can implement a good solution to that problem. Because I think that would be great if we could solve it. But I'm not holding my breath. That's a tough one, gotta say. All right, so thanks for watching the show this week and listening as well. If you're doing that, thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast and to San Diego Games and Wizards of the Coast and to Cyberbears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place. So stay tuned for part 3 of our discussion on reviewing Update 2020, or reviewing the year of 2020 in DDO. All right, welcome back to part 3 of our 2020 year in review. As is typical when I start talking about stuff and when I invite lots of people on, especially our friend Samius Gurobo and Axel, who are still with us and have a lot of fun thoughts to share. It goes a little longer than I expect.
AKA Samus knows how to use words.
I mean, it was a group effort.
Many words.
So we've gone through the 4 updates we got this year, but I also wanted to kind of touch base on a couple of things that also happened during the year. And the first of those is hardcore. We talked a little bit about kind of the effects of, like, some of the effects of hardcore bleeding in. We had seasons 2 and 3 this year. And 2019 hardcore season 1 was kind of this new thing. Season 2 and 3, I think, really established hardcore is going to be a thing, and it's going to keep going. So how do you guys feel about that? What maybe do you have thoughts about where it goes from here or anything like that?
I'm gonna let Axel go first this time.
It's Yeah, okay. Hardcore, it's not really. I think it's a cool thing in the game, but it's not really for me. I just don't have that kind of time to put into it. It's something that I have tried each season. Like I'll go in and I'll kind of experience the large population there at the low levels, and I'll play it for a few weeks. But I don't really bust myself to go after any of the rewards or anything else. Like I think the one season this year where I actually played quite a bit, I think I got a character to around 10 or so on there, but it's cool. It's just it's not really for me, but it's nice to have in the game.
So you specifically, I'm curious because Samus and I have spent a lot more time over there. It sounds like. Um, how do you feel it's impacting the live servers? Do you notice that in your play?
I, I, from what I recall, I think when I looked at actually some of the population area data around, I don't think it's actually having much of an effect on live servers. Not that I've noticed.
Think-
It seems like people are still playing quite a bit,
I'm just kind of curious what
whether knowing or
your
not.
experience was with that.
Yeah, I'm not noticing much difference.
So Samus,
Yeah, that's not equal to the feedback that I usually get during hardcore. Anyway, you were asking a question.
I don't know what was how does hardcore go for you this year? What are your thoughts on 2020 and hardcore?
So I'm actually both glad and disappointed they didn't do season 4 this year. Like, I honestly felt like they would.
Hmm.
I realized that it was really close for a lot of people between 2 and 3, but I've been advocating shrinking it down from 3 months to 2 months anyway and doing them more often. Um so I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't done a thing. I realize that apparently it takes some time to make some switches for the hardcore mechanics, but
If they change them,
well,
which
they
the first, I mean, season 2 we had the new champions, in season
right,
3 we had the extra lives, and of course both
correct,
seasons had new cosmetics that they had to create.
right. So it's a little bit of a tax on the art department. I get that, and it's a little bit of a tax on engineering, I suppose, for putting certain things together behind the scenes. Um, like I'm gonna put it down now that season 4 is probably mimics. And if it's not, I'm gonna be really disappointed. Um, but I really enjoy hardcore in particular, not only because it directly turns into viewer numbers, but I also feel like it changes the style of play from the way that we normally play DDO to a place that it actually has a lot more meaning for how you play and get things done, right?
It's awesome for streamers. Like if I was streaming, like I would do definitely be doing that a lot more.
Well, I'll tell you, as a streamer, you don't have a choice. Like, if
Yeah.
you're not streaming the hardcore, your viewership numbers are significantly reduced compared uh to your normal times when hardcore is running.
It's like watching
So it's like,
racing, right? Like
yeah,
you're watching for the crash.
right,
You're
and you're
watching for the
priced
death.
in, right? You're both priced in, and you know why, right? Um, but the thing I think for me that makes it really interesting in particular is setting up the sub challenges. So, what are your personal goals, right? How do you want to make things happen? I went into season 1 going, whatever, I don't care. We'll just play, have fun, screw around, enjoy the viewership. Let's see what happens. And then I like to joke that on the pile of little Samus bodies, Tobrel got his bloody footprints, right? With 2 weeks left of hardcore. And I was like, well, if I kept taking the deaths so he didn't have to, maybe I do want to get these footprints. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. And I got my bloody footprints on the very last day, 2 hours before I had to stop to go to work on Friday, which was, I think, 6 hours before the server was going to go down. Right. So then season 2 rolls around, and I decided that I'm going to pace myself a little bit better, try to get it done early, achieve the same goals that I got last time, which was the Reaper cloak, it was the horse this time for the 5,000, etc., etc., right? And see how fast I could do that. and I think I knocked those out in like 22 days or something, which is, I feel like, a pretty quick pace. Not insane, but pretty good. And in season 3 was the first time I tried to get on a high position on the leaderboard, right? I usually don't care that much about that particular kind of flex, but I'm fairly certain for almost all the way to the very end, I was the highest ranked person that didn't have a death season 3. I literally died, I think, for the one time 3 days before the server was done. And that was because I made a foolish mistake about going ahead and short manning some Shroud Reaper quests. I should have been like, look, we can't find a full party. We're not going to do this quest on Reaper. Let's do something else. But I felt like I knew the quest well enough because I'd ran it on Heroic a bunch. It would be fine. But I got caught by a surprise that I've never seen happen on Heroic. And I was like, okay. But yeah, I don't remember. I think I know I'm in the top 15 this year. So that was kind of nice. So like for me, it provides a lot of interesting possibilities. Season 1, like I said, I changed builds a lot. I went through lots of vaults. I kind of honed a lot of stuff. Season 2, I put out the top 10 video, or I think it was top 10, maybe it's top 5, but top 5 video on what you should play if you're looking for success in hardcore season 2. I think I did the same thing for season 3. I'll put out another one for season 4 and like project and tell you what I think is going to be well positioned for the next season. So it's nice to have those kind of like sub goals that are outside your usual goals.
Right.
And then when you turn around and you play back on the regular server, all of a sudden things go to easy mode. Like, whatever, who cares? I died, darn it. Shucks. Either I'll release or I'll click my Gibber's Blade, or I'll use one of my cakes that I've been saving up from the Korthos Island. Like, it's just a different experience than it is on the other side.
Hardcore has that really fun adrenaline rush of don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. And then you get back on the live servers and something that's gone, and it's kind of freeing in some ways.
It like, definitely is freeing.
I get to relax a little bit. Death is meaningless.
Right. And I think that's part of the reason that people started kind of like being more comfortable with it on season 3, because they could buy those extra lives with or have that flexibility of that death that was outside of your control. Let people kind of play closer to the style they're used to playing, which is part of the advantage, part of the disadvantage of hardcore, right? Is it knocks you out of your comfort zone to make you play in a style that you're not used to playing, which means that you're more prone to make mistakes because you're outside of your comfort zone. Where if you play in the style that you're used to playing, which is probably pretty reckless for the most part, for most of us, and then we make less mistakes, we're less likely to die because we're playing in a comfort zone, right? So like, it's a double-edged sword in there. And all those things are things that are very important to people who make commentary on the game, because you see how that affects other people, right? And it really gives you some eye-opening moments. The other thing I think hardcore in particular does, and at least it did for me, and maybe I'm alone on this, but I never really thought of myself as an elitist player. I've been called an elitist player a lot, but I've never thought of myself as an elitist player because I don't do the things that I think of as elitist. Like, I don't go for like the top DPS builds. I don't go for the highest this or the highest that, or grind out these top tier, like that 1% tweaks to put you in that top tippity top place. But it turns out I'm kind of an elitist player, right? Like, do I find it particularly difficult to get to level 20 on the hardcore server? No. If I wanted to, I could just do elites and not worry about it. It would not even be a big deal. I would be totally fine. Instead, and Patrick can attest, I make everyone play Reaper 1 with me, which basically means that people who come play with me expect to die. And I'm like, it'll be fine. And we get through the quest, and they're like, I can't believe we did this quest on Reaper 1. I'm like, whatever, man, it's not a big deal. Like, there's 6 of us. We should be able to do this on Reaper 4. No, never! And it's like, these are things that some of us might are a little bit more experienced, a little bit more elitist, whatever you want to call it, we don't think about. And I've noticed since the hardcore, I've kind of been reawakened to the plight of the average DDO player. And for me, I think that's really valuable. And it's something that has actually affected my playing on live more than I would think. Like it was even this morning. Just this morning, I joined a pug doing Slayers out in the orchard. And I walked in, I thought, oh, there's like 5 people in this group. It's going to take like 3 minutes to clean this zone. I'll figure out wherever people aren't at, and I'll go corner off that section, right? I get in, I start going, and I realize that the other 4 people are all clustered together because they have no idea what's going on. And I start listening to the conversation, and they're like looking for the explorer points. They're like grouping together because the mobs are killing them. Like, it's actually tough content for them.
Sure.
And I'm like a little bit taken back because it's the Orchard Slayers, right? Like, isn't the idea that you grind out an epic level or 2 in that hour of running your pot and knocking it out? So I like cleared out half of the orchard, and they had got a head start on me. And I cleared out, I went straight from the beginning. I cleared out that whole area. I walked over a little bit to the undead area, cleaned out all that over there. And then I cleaned up everything over by flesh makers and all the way down by ghosts. And I had literally cleaned the last bit. And they go, I think we're done on this side. And I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, 4 of you. And then I think I even got joined by another person at the end on a second run through. And all of them grouped together and ran off by themselves to re-explore that area they just explored. And I'm just like taken aback. But these are the kind of things that happen on the hardcore server, and you don't blink an eye. So this kind of reawakening to the common plight for some of us is something that you kind of need a shot in the arm to kind of think about. The same people who like struggle to get over level 20, not just on the hardcore, but in general. How many TR lives have you done? I've done like almost 200 TRs. The idea for me going from 1 to 20, even taking my time, it's like a week. There are people who've been playing for 12 years and don't have a character at level 20 yet. And to me, some of these things are just like, wow, maybe I need to step back a little bit when I'm complaining about the fact that, your Sharn sets always tie up your armor slot. And there's so many awesome armors. There are people who've never seen some of these awesome armors that I'm talking about that I would like to pull out of my TR cache and play. Right? So like a lot of this stuff is interesting, trying to re-see it from certain players' perspectives, and that's where the hardcore server is special to me.
Yeah, I guess
reattach it.
Coming back to hardcore, as someone who, is a more casual player who does take forever to level a character, I would like to see, like, one thing I would like to see is some more, I guess, lower tier rewards. Like, they can just be cosmetics and they shouldn't be as cool as the higher ones, but like something more attainable, at least for me, because I just don't have the time to put into grinding out all the Reaper points and all that stuff, for Bloody Footprint. I'm just not going to put in the 5,000 favor work. I'm not going to do that. So if there's just something a little more attainable, that would, at least for players like me, that would be more likely to get me over there. Maybe something for, I don't know, level 10, maybe just a cloak cosmetic. I don't know, something like that.
Something like a 1,750 favor.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be great.
The thing that I enjoyed about this hardcore season this year was they made them different in ways that was fun and exciting. Like the season 2 having different champs was a great change, and I still want to see those champions come to the live servers. In season 3, I think it opens having the extra lives really opens it up for a lot of people because they're like the thing about hardcore is when you die, like there's that lowest of low when you die, right? Like having the realization that your character's done, you have to start over, especially if you're like really close to that benchmark that goal you were going for, can be really deflating. Uh, Especially for the players who that experience was from a lag spike or a bug or something like that. So having that mulligan, I think, was really nice for a lot of people, and made it a better experience. And also a lot of people to really push the idea of what's possible in terms of on hardcore server, right? Like season 1, one of the most fun moments I had was when we did uh, Vault of Night 6, or Plane of Night, uh, and completed that really like it was a flawless completion in like less than 3 minutes. And that was a really cool experience. Like, oh my gosh, we not only do this, we weren't really sure we could, but we really crushed it. And seeing people like completing the shroud, and I think like Project Nemesis was completed season 3, and so like that was really fun. I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they remember the successes,
Yeah,
right? But I remember the deaths.
I think people
Like
remember the
and
deaths
not
too.
my deaths. And not my deaths, right? But the other people in my party that I cared about, right? So like Vaughn, season 1. We had knocked it out, and due to a bug, Vela breathed after she was dead. The DM text popped up, the chest popped up, and an invisible wave of fire went through, hit a bunch of the people, and one of the people that I was playing with spammed his heal button, healed all the way back up. The breath came back through and killed him. Like that's a death that's never going to go away,
Yep.
right? We're always going to remember that. We're not always going to remember fondly, but we're always going to remember. Like it's going to stand out. So like it, love it or hate it, it makes memories in a way that matter.
It really
If
does.
that same thing happened on live, right? The exact same thing happened on live, it'd be like, ha ha ha, go click the red shrine,
Yeah.
right?
I think
And
you're
we
right.
would
The
forgot about
memories
it
are the
2
fun
weeks
part, right?
later.
Like
Yeah, I
the
mean,
yeah,
without the lows, you wouldn't remember anything.
yeah.
So like it is extremely memorable. As to your point about the changes, I think you have to continue to change it up significantly. If you don't change it up, you will not get the return. As it
Probably.
is, there's already a bunch of people saying that they don't want to go back for season 4 unless it's the rewards are substantially different.
Sure. Give
And
us
I'm
a
just like,
different goals, kind of thing. Yep.
I I don't know what metric. Like we've talked about the hardcore in previous episodes. I don't know how much they can fiddle with the metrics in that way for different goals, but I feel like it's definitely got to change in a major way, not just rewards, but in gameplay every season, or otherwise the people who come back
What if
won't come back.
they added to each raid a special cosmetic item that
I mean,
always drop? Like if you completed the raid, you got a special cloak or something. Like you something like that.
it could be lots of
Yeah.
things. I would be open to a large variety of possibilities.
Before we get
My
down that
my
rabbit hole, though, I think we'll save that for another time and kind of move on to another portion
yeah
of
yeah yeah.
2020.
It's got to be unique.
Yeah.
That's all.
I want to talk about the the not so good part of 2020. Uh, and there was a lot of performance issues this year, kind of more than I think we're used to. Uh, there was a lot of server instability in July, August. Wayfinder got rolled back by 3 weeks. Thelanis recently had a rollback for a day. Uh, and there's been ongoing problems with chat server connection issues and stuff like that. And that's not just unique to DDO. SSG's kind of had that problem as a whole. Uh, Lotro had I think the Lotro servers were all down for a couple of days. Um, they also had server instability. Like their server instability seemed to be greater than ours on DDO. Uh, there was also Lotro's expansion this year did not get as positive of feedback as Fables of the Feywild did, to put it mildly. So I kind of wanted to give some space to talk about that and the experience that we had with that this year.
Like I'm so
So
used to it at this point with flag. I like people will point this out all the time in YouTube comments, and just it's something I don't even pay attention to. I think I know it's there. It's just I don't even notice it because I'm just so used to the hitching and the minor lag. I mean, unless it's like the other couple days ago, where unless it's a situation where I'm like stuck in Sharn and I can't move for a whole minute, I tend not to notice it. I just see it as part of the game, and that's probably not a good thing. But yeah, that's just how I see it.
What about the server instability in the middle of the year? Like, did you feel that impact more, or
Oh gosh, I don't even remember, to be honest. That was quite a while
'cause I
ago.
know there was about a week where I just stopped playing on hardcore because it was pretty bad.
yeah, see, I never stopped having to play on the hardcore. I felt like it was fine. I felt like there was a lot of people like you would log in, you would get like a lag report for the day, and then you might make a decision like, okay, I'm going to do X or Y or Z instead of whatever, right? Um, but also, wasn't that during some of the server transition migration stuff?
Yeah, so Wayfinder uh did some work on Wayfinder and like moved Wayfinder, and like right after they did that, they started getting these issues, and which is probably one of the reasons why the Wayfinder ended up being rolled back so far. Was because something, I think, reading between the lines, this is my perception, not anything that's been said or necessarily is true, but it seemed like when Wayfinder moved, something was done incorrectly, and was corrupted, and they didn't catch it because they then spent the next couple weeks dealing with server instability problems, and then they started moving other servers over, and then that's when the Wayfinder thing propped up.
Yeah, there was something about the server backups were unusable
Right.
past a certain point. So, like, it's hard to hate on server instability too much when you're doing like a big migration issue, which is, I believe, tied to some of the other positives that have come from the year that we talked about in the last two episodes, are directly possible because of the server changes and migration. So we have to, I mean, I hate to say it for the people who lost 3 weeks of their lives on Wayfinder when it came to that, but they got some pretty nice rewards if I remember right correctly. To the point where a lot of people were talking about rolling up new characters on
And then paying to transfer them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
saw
that was a
people
thing.
talking about doing them.
and I'm just like,
It
that
was like
seems
300 plus 300% XP, something like that.
Yeah.
It was really a lot.
yeah. So I'm just like, all right, well, I mean that's fine, but you got to kind of, again, I always point to the fact that the box literally says gameplay may change online, which tells you that things are going to be outside of the control sometimes. You have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like it really affected me that much. Lag is obviously a continuing issue. I literally took a death today because of lag, and I remember typing much lag, um, or no, it was much lag, many dots, because I was lagging fighting one of the champions that threw dots on you,
Nope.
right? And then I died, and I typed much shame. But it literally was because I got stuck in a situation where I think I had like 30 seconds of barely being able to move. And at the beginning of that time, I had eight dots on me, and I think at the time when I died, I had 13 or 14 or something like that. And it's just like you can't move, you can't move, you know. So like it there's a problem. I know that I took a death on stream a couple of times because of lagger ladder lagging back. Like I was halfway up a ladder and I lagged back down to the very bottom. And that happened so much that I got killed on stream the other day. Like these are things that are frustrating in the moment, but after the fact, they just go away. And I think that's really important for people to remember, except on the hardcore, which is really nice to have some fluff in there. right? It's
Yeah.
really nice to have that fluff life. So I just, I don't know. It's a minor inconvenience for the pleasure that you get from playing the game. For me,
Yeah, this year definitely seemed to be rougher on that regard, though. Like the server instability in the middle of the year was pretty brutally bad in terms of getting hit by, at least for my experience. I didn't stop playing. I adjusted my play a little bit. Like I stopped playing on hardcore because it wasn't worth it to me to lose that progress to this when I could just, I can still enjoy the game. Just I'm not going to do it on hardcore. So, last thing I want to talk about on a higher note, wanted to talk at least briefly about the free content initiative and the coupon code, and to a lesser extent, hey, SSG. I think we kind of touched on it. 2020 was not the most optimal year for making for doing work, and it didn't really impact me in the sense that I already had this content and paid, as a VIP and stuff. But I at least really appreciated the effort that SSG put in this to making this year better for DDO players.
I'm gonna give Axel another 10 seconds to see if he chimes in.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped. I mean, with the population, really, I noticed a lot of people coming to the game when the free initiative happened. I mean, I even saw that on my YouTube channel. I mean, a lot more in terms of views and subscribers and stuff. So it definitely got DDO some needed attention, which is great. I mean, especially in the times we were living in this year with people needing some kind of distraction.
Yeah, so the free content definitely came as a very wonderful gift to the community in general, right? It's brought back returning people who are on the fence, people who are like, yeah, I used to play years ago, I haven't came, they've come back. There's been a nice, juicy population boon. And I think, and I see it in the comments as well and whatnot. I feel like it's going to, if they continue to put out quality material, which by all means, with the exception of Shifter, I feel like they've done really, really exceptionally well considering 2020 and the challenges it's proposed. But it's creating opportunities. And I don't know how much they're going to continue to take advantage of those opportunities or how much they're going to let things slide. So like now that they spent this time and energy developing, for example, the remote work, work from home, et cetera, et cetera. Now to me, now in my mind, it's an opportunity to expand the customer service, like the online DMs, by a big factor, right? You could pay. I would DM for DDO for like $10 an hour for like 10 to 20 hours a week, as a part-time side thing. Like I would have no problem being an acting DM. I bet there's lots of people out there who would DM for part-time, and it would not be a huge monetary cost, and all of a sudden the response time goes from 3 hours to back to maybe 10 minutes again, right? For in-game problems. And I'm not saying that that works for every single problem. I feel like some problems will probably have to be promoted up and people inside will have to deal with. But I feel like they've now spent the energy learning how to do some of this stuff where it doesn't have to be 100% in-house, and they need to capitalize on it. Um, the other thing that this did is that they wanted to retain these new and returning players, so they put out this code. Right, they basically unlocks all of the non-expansion packs at that time and past. Right, so for most people, DDO became mostly free. Right, you still have to get the expansion packs, which is pretty reasonable. They put the expansion packs on sale for 92 of them, the first two for 99 points, which was about about 4 hours of work, I think, for the average person. Maybe 10 hours if you're slow, you don't know what's going on. Maybe you're new, doing quests on normal and then hard, couple hours. And then you're missing Sharn, you're missing Ravenloft, you're missing Feywilds. Okay, so a minor investment, right? Things don't go on sale at the end of the year, etc. Now, for me personally, I punch that code in. I already buy the expansion packs. My VIP is going to renew in the spring. Do I continue to renew my VIP? I don't know. As of today, probably not. Do I feel like they need to consider that opportunity? Like, do they want my $100 a year to continue to play DDO? I bet they do. So they need to look at that. It's another opportunity. Can you keep me? Do you just need to reduce the sub price? Like, I'm willing to hear it. I'm willing to look at the example or the price points, but it's going to have some effects. There's going to be some ramifications. I know there's a lot of people like myself who are in that window. Something that we didn't talk about that came from Severlin's comments, we're not going to do season pass, right?
Right.
So that's another opportunity that some people out there are going, hey, I really want the season pass. Well, like, a lot of this stuff needs to be thought about and talked about, and I don't know how much of this is happening because of the remote work, right? So there's definitely challenges to overcome, and there's potential benefits from doing these things. And I hope that they take the nice break, they have a wonderful holiday, they get completely recharged, they come back early next year, hit the ground running, figure some of these problems out, and come up with some really good solutions. Because these are questions that are going to hit the bottom line, at least from my perspective, here in 4 or 5 months. So, like, people have asked me, should I go VIP? And I go, did you get this code? And they say yes or no. And depending on that yes or that no, I tell them, yes, you should be a VIP, or no, you should not. I don't want to say that. I always want to be able to tell you, yes, being a VIP is value.
We talked
Yeah,
about
it's hard to.
we talked about the extra, like, 1% per player member in your party. Like,
I don't think
they put that in there to try to give more incentive to being VIP. And I think there's I understand that they maybe don't want to do it more for, like, more XP boost, but yeah, I would like to see some more.
Yeah,
like
I
you're
agree.
saying, there's an opportunity for more incentives for VIPs.
Yeah, I don't care at all about the extra 1% VIP. Like, that's 5% more XP.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's more of an incentive for me to put the LFM up to have pugs in my group so I can solve the quest where they get lost. Like, that's what that is.
I always
I'm
thought something
serious.
like a VIP lounge or something, like something special in game area just for VIPs. Maybe put in the festival vendor stuff, something like that. Something cool might be a neat idea.
You could do
Like,
like something similar to that, maybe in said VIP lounge. But what if VIPs got a special item every week? Like, they have the freebie code. What if VIPs also got a bonus item if they log in that week? Do stuff like that.
there could be any number of things. Like, the opportunity there is for a lot of things. I still think the easiest answer is to remove chest ransacking for VIPs. To me, that's the easiest one. That would be enough to make me continue to pay my VIP sub. And I only run quests once and done, right? But not on the hardcore. On the hardcore, I loot lots of chests trying to find
Right.
something.
Maybe.
So, like, for me, that can't be that difficult for them to do. I mean, I'm sure it's some amount of work, but it seems like it would be a motivate. We even have chat saying that would keep me as a VIP. So, like, there's mechanics that they could put into place. And there's opportunities for them to do things to make people want to continue to give them money. And we know that DDO is the most profitable part of the company. Like we now know this to be a fact. We
By
spit
player.
Per player.
correct, by player. So we know that this is a true statement, and we know that people want to give them money. Continue to make us want to give you money.
Well, there you go. There's our review of 2020. It's been a pretty rough year, but I think DDO's done a pretty good job of making it a better year.
They have done so, like, if your expectations of them were set at a certain point with the challenges thrown in there, they more than met and exceeded those expectations. They have overcome far greater than I thought they ever would. So 100% kudos.
All right. Well, on that note, Axel, why don't you plug your videos and stuff?
Yeah, you can find me over at YouTube, Axel's DDO channel there on YouTube. Do a lot of DDO videos, and lately I've done some DDO music covers and all other kinds of stuff. So go check me out.
And Samus?
Yeah, I'm also a YouTube as well as twitch.tv at Samius Gurobo. Twitter, same. Facebook, the same. I have an Instagram account primarily for my bus stuff, USS Fat Halfling. If you're interested in wanting to know what I'm talking about, go to Instagram, USS Fat Halfling, and take a look. You may or may not be surprised at stuff coming up in the future on the streams here very, very soon.
Hey, thanks guys for joining me, and to the guys that started the stream and had to go for other things, and to all the contributors for DDOCast, and to Sandstone Games and Wizards of the Coast for making DDO happen, and to Cyberish for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. You can also support us by subscribing on YouTube or following us on Twitch and all that fun stuff. If you have a DDO-themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And you can hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, leave a comment or email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. At DDOcast on Twitter is the best place. But you can also find us on Facebook.
Hey, before you outro,
Mhm.
one question: is 2021 going to tell 2020 to hold its beer?
Gee, I hope not.
I don't think so.
I think it's going to be definitely like that. It's going to hand it 2 beers. It's going to go here. It's going to really be crazy.
I think in some ways maybe, but I think in the most important one, getting some vaccines out there and getting back to normalcy, or whatever the new normal is going to look like, I think that's going to be a huge weight lifted on a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So
I just meant in DDO. What are you guys
we're talking about DDO?
All right, you guys have a wonderful new year.
Thanks, folks. Have fun. Don't forget to gather for buffs and all that jazz.